Hello everybody, welcome back to Aurora 4X. We're continuing our EarthCorp campaign, and I wanted to bring you guys a little update, because I have been playing off camera for a while. In the last episode, we were talking about potential strategies to finish off the Asolian aliens over here. We've destroyed most of their ships in orbit. We'll be able to use our missile destroyers to shoot down the rest of their orbital ships, but they're well entrenched on the planet with STO weapons that can destroy our cruisers. What are we going to do about that? Well, the first thing I discussed was modifying our strike cruisers to use particle lances and longer range weaponry so that we can be out of range of the STO weapons and shoot at them. Now, I have gone ahead and upgraded, I showed you last time the upgraded versions of the Resolute class frigate. I remember last time I wasn't happy with the design because I forgot to optimize it to 5,000 tons, so I went ahead and did this. And also on the leverage, I had forgotten to put ECCM, so I did that now. And yeah. Now, the other class that I have upgraded is the Export class strike cruiser. So here is the new version, still massing 20,000 tons. So we've upgraded the 4 near UV laser PD guns to the UV laser PD guns, so they're a bit better. We have upgraded we had 4 microwave guns. We still have 4 microwave guns, but they're the new kind, which has a much longer range. And we swapped out the 6 laser guns for 4 particle beam guns, because that's all we could fit. The reason is these weapons are a bit larger than their previous versions, and also the fire controls are a bit bigger because they're a bit better. The sensors on board are... I have... right now, in terms of active sensors, we have... 2 fairly large sensors for picking up. So I've changed kind of the resolution preference. So my main largest sensor, which is not on the export class, finds 15,000 ton ships with a 222 size or at 222 million kilometers. Whereas I have a separate one to find 7,500 ton ships at 91 million kilometers. And then here is a smaller one which finds 15,000 ton ships at 70 million kilometers. So this is sort of like a medium average sensor, which is much smaller, but it's totally appropriate for a energy weapon cruiser like this one. And we have a compact ECCM-1 on board. And let me actually show you the other thing I've done here is we have added some command and control things on board. Let's see. They should be... Okay, well, you see them listed here. I thought you'd see them... They might be on the list somewhere. That's interesting. I don't see it. Anyways, so we have an auxiliary control, a CIC, and main engineering. So main engineering helps with repairs. CIC helps with fire controls, basically. And auxiliary control, I think, is a backup. Actually, I'm not 100% sure what auxiliary control does, but maybe we can see in the tech listing for it. If we go to sensors here, and do completed. If you see it before I do, you win. Okay, auxiliary control. Yeah, it just allows us to have an XO, basically. So we have this. Main engineering allows us to have a chief engineer, which is going to help repair. So in the past, in terms of our theme and our role-playing, we had these being sort of ships that were run by junior associates mostly. And they were making poor decisions and running away and leaving their comrades stranded. And now the corporation is a little sick and tired of this, so we're going to structure our navy and have a bit more of a hierarchy. So we're going to have different positions on the ships. And here, by the way, the CIC allows us to have a tactical officer, and so we have better weapons targeting. And for one thing, this means there'll be a number of our commanders on board each ship, with a senior commander and a few junior officers, not commanders, senior officer on board the ship, and a number of junior officers as well. So that as a group, we're making sort of better decisions. But the other thing that we've done is we have designed the Capital class command vessel, not Citadel, Capital over here, the command ship. And so this is another 20,000 ton ship with a 5 armor rating. So it has no weapon capabilities of its own. It has a ton of sensors, including our 2 big sensors. Looks like I didn't put any missile detecting sensors on this, but that's okay. All the other ships that can shoot missiles have those sensors. We also have a whole bunch of ELINT modules, and also some very large, size 10 passive EM and thermal sensors. And I put some ECM on board to make it even harder to target, because it will have a larger signature because of its sensors. And so this ship will move with the fleet, and it means that if we park the fleet close enough to the alien population, we'll be able to sit there and gather intelligence and then make informed decisions about what we want to do, which I think kind of, in terms of story-wise, makes a lot of sense. You'll notice here, I included this for flavor. I had a little bit of space left over, and so what I did is we have 2 small boat bays. Sorry, I should mention the important thing here is we've also got a flag bridge. And the flag bridge allows us to have a senior officer here that's going to be the senior officer of the whole fleet, and can also kind of project, like you can have a command, basically Navy command emanating from the flag bridge. And we have main engineering and auxiliary control and whatnot. So I think in terms of role-playing, it's also cool to have the notion that, so the corporation now wants to send like one of its executives in charge of future missions to combat the aliens, because they're not quite satisfied with the performance of the junior associates. But those executives aren't just going to go like fight a war if there's a risk that they're going to die. So we have a small hangar capacity, 250 tons, and I've designed the insurance class lifeboat, which is a tiny little fighter chassis, 125 tons. It's an engine with fuel. That's all it is. So this is an escape pod. And so I just thought it'd be a cute thing. And in terms of game mechanics, how you could use this is if the ship, there's no automatic way. Well, let me think about that. If a ship gets blown up, there is a chance that that the officers on board can escape on the lifeboats, I think. But they might also just die. That's actually something, I don't want to say too much on this topic because I have to double check. I have to read to remember exactly how it works. But if the ship were to begin taking damage, like my ship has a lot of armor, it's unlikely to all die suddenly in one command increment. I think if there was a lot of damage being taken, I would reassign the senior commanders on board the capital ship to the 2 lifeboats, then detach them and fly them away, which would simulate effectively the senior, the executives getting on their escape pods and getting out of there. I just thought that'd be a cool little flavor thing to add to these ships. So anyways, that's the Capital class command ship. Okay, the other ship, which I think I did mention, is we have our drop ship to drop our troops, which is the Obelisk. We're kind of building a few of these up. And so our plan is to actually go and invade this planet. So what I'm going to do in my next operation here is we're going to bring in the fleet. We're going to shoot the last remaining offensive ships in orbit with our missile destroyers. Then we're going to run in and escort our dropships and drop them on the ground. Now, you can bombard a planet from orbit with energy weapons. It causes slightly less collateral damage than using missile weapons, obviously. The issue here is that we're greedy. We don't want to damage the environment, the infrastructure, perhaps even the population. I haven't quite decided how the corporation's going to deal with aliens, right? If it would be integrate into our society or more like internment camp slavery type of thing. We'd have to think about the role play implications, for this future science fiction. I feel like they would be more pragmatic and would just want the aliens to work for them. So I don't think they would particularly care about their lives. So I think the primary reason why they don't want to just glass the planet is not so much to spare the aliens' lives, but to protect the infrastructure. But I don't see them as being particularly cruel. Like, I don't think that they want to exterminate the aliens. I think they'd be happy to have the aliens work their infrastructure for the corporation. Anyways, so you can do orbital bombardment. Orbital bombardment is not super precise or effective. And the main issue is that orbital bombardment, and when I say orbital bombardment, I'm not talking about orbital bombardment support. So if you have ground troops fighting on the planet and you have FFD elements, forward fire direction, they can call upon air support from your orbiting ships. And you will use the guns on your orbiting ships once per ground combat round, which is every 8 hours, to target enemy positions. And there's a precision bonus to doing that, and that can be effective. However, that means your ships are in orbit, and that means they're vulnerable to enemy STO, and enemy STO is killing us. So I want to get rid of their STO elements, and we're going to do this with our own ground troops. I could just sit in orbit and bombard for a long time, but that's going to run through a lot of MSP on my ships, and it's not super precise, so it's just going to cause a whole bunch of damage to the planet. I can do it safely in the sense that I can outrange the STO, but the precision is really low. It's not gonna work for us. So we're not gonna do that. Now, what I've done is I have researched all of the ground combat tech, essentially, once again up to about 15,000. I haven't gone into super heavy vehicles. I had enough choices and selection to make something interesting. And the other thing that I have not touched at all are the fighter pods, which are really cool and powerful and interesting. But my Navy isn't really into fighters yet. That's not sort of a doctrine or technology that the corporation has adopted. So that would be a pretty hard shift to suddenly go into, we'd have to design a ship that was a carrier. And it's just, I think it's something that we would progress to in this particular storyline. Perhaps if we had gone for a more fighter-based doctrine earlier on, it would be natural to switch to these. Now, these are incredibly effective because you can... so basically, you can have very small fighters. You load these pods onto them. You can swap whichever pod you want on the mothership, and so you can reuse the fighters in different roles, and then they can go down on the surface and basically provide additional bombardment. But what's great about them is you could send them, like this could be an intermediary step where once they're in atmosphere, they can't be hit by STO. Of course, they can be hit by enemy anti-air, but what you could do is, without having to land troops, you can send a swarm of fighter pods. Once you've cleared the enemy vessels out of orbit, you can send a swarm of fighter pods with bombardments, for example, because they're not going to have their own aircraft. Their aircraft has to be launched from carriers, and we've destroyed all of their ships in orbit, presumably. So you can send these fighters on flak suppression. In other words, they're going to target down all the AA. Once you've suppressed enough of their AA, then you can send your fighters in to bombard their ground forces, their STOs in particular, if they've revealed themselves. You can target down those formations. and then you can bring in your Navy. So that would be sort of the logical progression. So we're just going to skip that step, and we're just going to land a big ground army and hope things go well. If you are anticipating that things are not going to go well, I mean, I think you may be right, but we'll see. We're going to do it anyways. So let me talk about the ground units that we have designed. Now, there's a lot of flexibility. You can do a lot of stuff. Let me show you sort of the tech that we have here. And I think I'll also talk about some of the ground combat rules. This is actually going to be the first legit ground combat I'm going to do in Aurora C#. So I expect to learn a lot as I do this. So we have a few. Actually, there's something I just realized I really need to double check because I might have forgotten to do. Well, we'll do it as I click through these. But let me just show you the options here. So we right now have another chassis available to us, heavy vehicles. And you saw we were halfway through researching another one, the super heavy vehicles. Obviously, the size increases, which means you can carry fewer units. Hit points increase. Hit points are relevant because the way that damage works for ground combat is units are either destroyed or not. There's no like gradual loss of hit points. And it's a percentage based on like the amount of damage that an attack did compared to your hit points. So having more hit points means that you can withstand, you can withstand a hit better, literally. But it's not that you're going to gradually lose the hit points. It's just there's a bigger chance that you just don't die from taking a hit. It just glances off you. AP, so armor versus AP is also a very significant factor here. So if we look at the infantry, I have heavy powered infantry armor. So I imagine these as kind of like mech suits. They have a base AR of 2, and my racial tech, like my armor tech, is a times 10 modifier. So that gives if I were to build infantry with this armor, they would have 20 armor. And therefore, if we look at the weapons, for example, if the enemy had infantry with personal weapons, their personal weapons only have AP 8. So I forget the exact formula, but it's 8 is going to go against 20 to try to penetrate my armor. And you can look up the formula on the wiki. I forget it at the moment, but that's going to be a low chance. So in other words, most of the shots from personal weapons against an infantry in heavy-powered armor are just not going to do any damage, which is a good thing because we only have 1 hit point. If they did do damage, there's a good chance the infantry would die. But given that ratio, there's very little chance that it would do damage. Now, I have no idea what kind of ground troops he has, but based on what I'm looking at here, if he did have infantry with like 15 to 20 armor, then I'm going to need weapons that have much higher AP than 8. So I am using one type of unit, which is firing heavy crew-served anti-personnel weapons. So this takes up a lot of size, but it has an AP 12 and 6 shots, and the damage is 8. So an AP of 12 versus an armor of like between 10 and 20, I don't know exactly what tech he has, has a decent chance of scoring some damage. Now the damage of 8 is actually more than enough to kill an infantry. It's almost going to guarantee a kill. But this is going to be a pretty effective weapon against infantry. I'm erring on the side of he has armor, right? The other way to approach this would be to have, for a less size, if you just had crew-served anti-personnel. By the way, these things do 6 shots, which is why I've chosen this weapon type. So improved personal weapons with AP 10 is also a solid option in terms of AP. The size is 6, but you only get 1 shot, whereas with HCAP, we get a size of 20, but we get 6 shots, and the AP is a bit better. So you get a slightly better ratio, but here you have more dudes, and depending on what you're fighting, more dudes might be better than a few dudes with better weapons. It depends on what kind of firepower you're facing. Anyways, so we've built an infantry that has this kind of layout. Now, medium and heavy vehicles can have 2 weapon slots, so you can combine them to have different roles. And let me just go ahead now and show you the units that we have gone with. So first of all, here's our HCAP heavy infantry. I've also included extreme temperature combat because the planet that we are hoping to invade is very hot. And so we need to have that so we don't get penalized for it. It's got heavy armor and the HCAP as I described. I also included some powered infantry with the forward fire direction in case we do. This is more to future-proof it, but in case we did want to have orbital bombardment support, we can have a few of these units incorporated into some of our detachments and deployments. And I gave them powered infantry just so they wouldn't just die to a stray bullet, so to speak. Okay. I have also designed a medium heavy anti-vehicle tank. This is a medium vehicle with heavy armor. You can see here the armor of 40. And its main weapon is a heavy anti-vehicle, which is 1 shot, 48 pen, and 48 damage. So you can see that if it was... So like this is a medium tank with heavy armor. It has 40 armor and 40 hit points. So this would be, this kind of weapon is well equipped to fight, for example, a medium vehicle with heavy armor. In fact, I'll show you, we also have a heavy assault tank, but just so you see, this is a heavy vehicle with heavy armor. It has 60 armor. So there's actually a decent chance we might even penetrate that because we've got 48 armor pen. Now, what I've done is I have put in the second slot simply a light autocannon because that will give this element more flexibility. If I want to have a strong anti-tank component in a detachment, I don't want to be stuck in a situation where suppose I'm fighting a formation that it turns out doesn't have a lot of vehicles and is mostly infantry. I still need to be able to shoot the infantry. So a light autocannon has 10 penetration, 16 damage, 3 shots. This is also good against light vehicles who don't have a lot of protection, or even vehicles that have low armor or very little armor. This would still be effective. Then we have the heavy assault tank. The heavy assault tank is just designed to be a big, beefy unit. So you can see 60 armor, 60 hit points. It is sporting a medium autocannon and heavy crew served anti-personnel. And so this is medium damage to everything, right? This is going to destroy infantry, and this is going to destroy most vehicles, some tough infantry, and the idea is to combine the assault tank with the medium heavy anti-vehicle tank, and that should cover pretty much all our bases. We should be, matched up well against most opposing units that will meet on the battlefield in an offensive position. If I want to have a more defensive formation, I would lean more heavily on the infantry because infantry can be fortified more. There's a lot of rules about ground combat that you might not know if you only remember Aurora from before. But I think maybe I'll talk about those on the episode where we actually do the ground combat. But you have 4 positions. You have rear echelon support, forward, like on defense, and forward and attack. But both 4 positions are in the same position. It's just one is staying and defending and one is attacking. The one that is attacking has a chance to break through if it does enough damage and if it's fast enough. And so that favors vehicles. So I'm designing some formations like this armored assault deployment that are designed to break through. So we have, I have a 10K headquarter heavy armored tank with a light autocannon as a secondary slot to protect my commander. So this armored deployment here these are about 10,000 tons, and it has basically a whole bunch of assault tanks, a whole bunch of heavy anti-vehicle tanks, a few infantry along for the ride, but it's mostly a tank deployment. So if this does enough damage, it has a high chance of breaking through because it's mostly vehicles. And breaking through means you could do additional damage to another formation that is behind the front line, so their rear or their support formations. Also, along the front line, we'll simply have a mechanized infantry deployment. This also has a bit of heavy, anti-tank and a couple of assault tanks, but it is mostly HCAP heavy infantry. We've got a few FFD elements in case we want to use those in the future as well. And we've got some construction vehicles to speed up fortification because infantry can be fortified very well. Behind those, we're going to have some heavy artillery deployments in the support position. These are static elements. If they're heavy AA and heavy artillery, they can project their firepower over all of your army. And in particular, heavy artillery can reach the opposing rear formations, which is why we've gone for that weapon type. And we've got a few supporting combat elements as well. Finally, we have Divisional Command, which is the command, some AA, some artillery, and then logistics and construction, because this logistics and construction is going to be applied, like whatever's at the top of the hierarchy can be applied to the whole hierarchy. And we've got an extra logistics support, which is mostly logistics vehicles that can come in and resupply the entire army. So I'm thinking that an army would be about 10 deployments, each deployment being about 10,000 tons, and we could have one divisional command, one logistics support. Maybe we have 2 artillery deployments, and then we might have 4 mechanized infantry, 2 armored assault, maybe 3 and 3, something like that would be a combined army. That's what I'm thinking right now, and so I've started building a lot of those units. And we'll see if they turn out to be effective or if it will be a complete disaster. I'm very curious to see how it'll work out. Something I haven't done yet is I haven't researched new STO elements, which I might do eventually. In terms of research, honestly, I don't really have any super priorities. What I've just done recently is I grabbed a few little upgrades and sensors. In particular, I got the improved grav and geosensors, so I just did a tiny redesign for the Intrepid class survey ship. Which you can see here. What I've done is I had to reduce a bit of the maintenance and the fuel capacity, but we've swapped out the sensors for improved versions, and I added a science department, which boosts things like surveying. So we've upgraded that ship class. So that is it for the plans and the designs. Let me, I guess, take a brief moment to show you, the progress of our economy and our expansion. So we have, let's see, last time I think all of this was terraformed. Titan is on its way. Let's actually take a look at Titan, see how it's doing. We're doing nothing on Titan. This seems like a mistake. We should be doing something. Hydrosphere is good. See, good thing I checked. Good thing I recorded this episode now. The temperature needs a bit of tweaking, and we need to fix the, we need to get rid of methane, I think, and we need to add our oxygen. Let's actually add the oxygen right now. And then we'll get rid of the dangerous gases, and we should be good to go. So Titan is almost terraformed. Bestine over here. was being terraformed. It is terraformed. Good for you. Destinations. This should be stable now. Now, did I move the terraformers, or are they still there? Okay, I did move them. Yes, I think we moved them to Bestine 4. Yeah. So I have some terraformers. Let's actually just double check that, because that doesn't look quite right. Yep, okay, they're all in place. So if we look at Bestine 4, let's just make sure the terraforming is doing the right thing. Oh yeah, we're just adding Astusium to warm up the planet. Excellent. So Bestine, our first colony here in Bestine has been completely terraformed. It is now a taiga, very comfortable place to live, and there's already 178 million people living there. Elsewhere in Barseg, we have completely terraformed Barseg 4 and 5, and I think now we need to move on to I guess Barseg 3, which I believe we have already begun to terraform. Let me just show you that. Yes, it's a terraforming site down here. So Barseg 3 was a little hot, so we had to cool it down, which we're doing. So we're now down to 40 degrees, which is much more reasonable. And we have some water in the atmosphere already, so it's going to drop down and get our hydrographic extent. So this is good. This colony is coming along quite nicely. Where else are we colonizing? We have begun to colonize the Uquine system, or Uquine system. I don't think I've shown this one to you yet, but it is interesting. We have this one super Jovian that has a whole bunch of moons that are just in the right temperature range to make them relatively colonizable. Unfortunately, most of them are quite low gravity, but a few of them are, appropriate gravity and could make some nice colonies. Not too hard to terraform because they're pretty small bodies. So we'll definitely get some terraformers in here and make a bunch of little moon colonies. We also have a terrestrial here, which is the planet that we have colonized. A very large planet, but with not crushing gravity. And so we've colonized this planet. It is large. It'll take a while to get the oxygen kind of temperature mixture right, but the ice sheet means that we have already all the water that we need, which is really a key thing if you're thinking about terraforming a large planet. And then there's another super Jovian that has a whole bunch of terrestrial moons here that could also be terraformed potentially. I mean, look at this terrestrial moon here has also potential. Oh, I forgot. I have to go. I need to go send some ground surveyors. Let's do that right now. Let's make colonies here so that they show up on the movement on the order issuing screen. There's a lot of potential here for more minerals, so that's something to do for my geosurvey team, which has been waiting patiently, not doing much for a while, mostly due to my laziness. So yeah, there's a ton of potential colonies in this system. You can look here in the max pop just to get a rough idea. A lot of potential here. So this will be a fun system to play around in. Let's actually issue those orders before we forget. Logistics. This is the Overwatch one. I believe we have... Oh, we're somewhere here. I think we have... Yeah. Okay, we're way out in the boonies. Let's... Here, we'll stop by Earth and refuel. And then we'll head out to Uquine. And I forget already which planet it was that we wanted to survey. Let's start with Uquine 4, Moon 11. Uquine 4, Moon 11. Alright, so that is taken care of. Anyways, a lot of potential here in the Uquine system. I keep calling it Uquine. I prefer Uquine, I think, as a like equine, but it's Uquine. Okay, Elrude has a colony of ours. We colonized this planet because we wanted the Bornide. Unfortunately, it's a pretty high colony cost planet, and it's also pretty far, and the civilians it's taken a while to get this colony up and going, so I sent some terraformers there in an effort to try to warm up the planet. It's very cold. We'll see if we can make something happen here. It'd be really nice to get more Bornide, because right now I'm getting it mostly from comets, and those comets have mostly run dry, which is something else I want to look at in a bit. I think we did have Kermia colonized last time, so that's still going on. Nothing really new to report there. And that is it in terms of our new colonies. Yeah, let's take a quick look at the mineral situation. So, okay, a few things. So if you recall, Mars is our industrial powerhouse now with a ton of construction capacity, and it's got all the duranium and corundium and neutronium we would ever want, and so it's just pumping out more construction factories and more mines. Now, this is, see, good thing we check. I've been sending the mines out to, the new colonies, which need the mines, but I sent out so many mines that we ran out of we were not mining enough corundium locally to keep producing all the mines that we were making. So I do have to be careful not to export too many mines off of Mars to keep up with production, which is why I've also swapped, honestly, we have enough production capacity, so I've swapped most of the capacity, the industrial capacity, to mine production instead of construction factory production. So that's happening on Mars. Now, on Earth, we have we build up decent stockpiles of Bornide, but then I use it all to make terraformers. Each terraforming base is about 9,000 Bornide. Now, if we look at where we are getting our Bornide, most of it is coming from comets. So if we look here in the automated mining complexes, McNaught, Russell, and Brooks, those are the two that are way, way out there in the outer solar system. They're almost mined dry. So we're going to have to go get these orbital mining platforms back. And that's an epic trip, which is going to be unfortunate for whichever tug has that mission, spend 2 years in deep space. But we're going to have to get, for example, the platform off of Brooks. Van Briesbroek, also almost dry. Comasola, also almost dry. Nujman, getting low. You can see we were getting Bornide from here. Halley's Comet, almost ran out of Bornide there. And Wolf Harrington, also almost running out of Bornide there. So actually, this is pretty bad news, guys. Let's take a quick look at the other comets we could mine here. We could do asteroids. The issue is that asteroids don't last long, and it's a lot of micro, and I'm a bit lazy for managing it. So here, if I click orbital mining eligible, let's take a quick look at where we could do orbital mining in our entire known galaxy, where we could do orbital mining for Bornide. Interesting. So Kermia, we have a colony there. That's not terribly out of reach. Let's mark that as a colony. Now, Barlock, Sump, and Belasco. Let's definitely tag this one in Belasco. Now, I'm going to tag some of these asteroids, although it might be very far out, but we'll still consider going there. Now, let's take a look at Sump and Barlock, because those are not systems. I roughly remember where they are. They're on the east somewhere. Here's Sump. That's not too far. And Barlock. Oh, Barlock is a little far, so maybe not Barlock, but Sump we could definitely do. Okay, let's create that colony. Good. Now, in the Bestine system, we have a few asteroids. I mean, they'll run. We'll mine them out pretty quickly, but let's tag them anyways. Because otherwise the commercial sector will eventually tag some of these and mine them out. All right, so I'm not too worried about Gallicite anymore because we have, although it's only 0.5 accessibility, Barseg 4 here is has 833 mines and is just chugging away, producing a ton of Gallicite, and we have like millions. Now, all that Gallicite is being shipped directly to Earth, and I had paused MSP production, which is the main sink for Gallicite, but I built up a healthy stockpile, and also I'm running out of MSP. The forward base in Uvina is fully stocked with MSP, but that is it. My supply ships are empty. In other words, I had a full load on the supply ships, so we refilled all of the MSP at the forward base, which is enough to last quite a long time with my fleet being maintained. But right now, the only bank we have is this. But we produce enough every year to cover our maintenance needs. We just have to get back into producing it, and we couldn't before because we didn't have enough incoming Gallicite. But if we look, actually, we should look at Empire Mining. That's interesting. So we're still a little bit short, but we're getting there. And as Barseg keeps increasing its capacity, in fact, we might want to ship more mines over there because, well, see, the worker capacity is still a little low, but now that the planet is fully terraformed, it will continue to grow in population. In fact, I am going to set this one back to a destination for colonists, just so that it keeps growing, so I can keep increasing my Gallicite production. But we don't really have another good source of boronite. If I look here and just do, not OM eligible, but just search for boronite in general. Here, let's do like 0.5. In all of known space, we have, actually I say that. Well, you look at that, Yukon A. Is this our colony? So Va over here was a system previously known to me, but we encountered the Isulian aliens in the Va system, so that's why we're not really considering it. Workser would have been a candidate here. But you'll see the colony cost is very high. It's just as high as Elrud A was, and Elrud A is a little bit closer, so that's why I went to Elrud A. Here, Bestine, we've colonized, but this is a low-gravity planet, so not a lot of long-term potential. Same thing here with Belasco. Going down, Allen. This is just Allen. Let me show you where the Allen system is. It is over here. So this is a newer discovery just beyond Barseg. It's a little far from the Sol system, although now we could, get there reasonably well. But this is a newer discovery, but also pretty high colony cost. Now, Champala is a recently surveyed system. 6.26 is not super low, and this accessibility isn't amazing. However, Champala A1, this I bet is a high gravity world because C-1, but let me show you the Champala system. It is down here, just beyond Kerma, and we've actually done the geosurvey. So this is a quaternary system, but all the stars are close to each other. So actually, let me just show you. This is a cool system. I intend to colonize it as soon as I can. I'm waiting for one thing, though, and I'll show you guys what's going on. Okay, so here's the Champala system. The jump point comes in here from Kermia. We've got the primary here, and then we've got the binary out here, and Champia C, which orbits the binary. Now, the binary just has a few asteroids around it, but the binary of the binary over here actually has a nice little solar system around it. these planets here. So let me show you on the list here what we have. So this is around the primary here. We already have a few interesting planets. So this is the one that apparently has all the Bornide. Now it's 0.5 accessibility, although the quantity is impressive. However, because it's a Venusian and also the gravity is too high, so we'll never really be able to work this, maybe with orbital habitats. Another high gravity temperate forest here. But then we have a number of potential colonies here, including Moon with not high amounts, but high accessibility. And a terrestrial here, which is, could be terraformed, although there's no minerals. So there's like potential, right? This is not terrible. The system could certainly be colonized. You could set up a few main colonies here for just people to grow and then have like more remote mining operations. This could be a fun system. But then around here, we also have more planets. And here we have, so a gas giant, but then we have this swamp planet with low accessibility, but of every mineral. So this is actually also worth mining, but it's like ready to go. I mean, it only needs to be cooled a little bit and it's completely terraformed. And then nearby we have other, just more interesting bodies that we could colonize here as well and do some random mining from. Now, you say, but this is at the binary, it's too far away. Well, 16 billion kilometers is far, but it's certainly manageable. And what we are doing here is we are stabilizing. Are we in Champala? Yeah. Why is this? Oh, I had zoomed out way too far. Okay. So what I've done is I have given orders to, well, one of my networking ships. I thought I did. Industry. One of these guys should have the order. Not you, not you, not you. You do. Okay, it's... Oh, no, it's going to Findar. Huh, okay, so I thought I gave the order, but I did not. My bad. So you're at Earth, you're in Rendil. All right, let's take you from Earth. We'll give you the order. So I thought I gave the order for this to happen a while ago, but I didn't. So we're going to Champala. And then from Champala, we're going to go... Oh, no, there's already a jump point. I think I did do this, and it's done. So, yeah, there were stabilized jump points in the inner system, and we went out to Champala C, because our, 16 billion kilometers is long, but our network ships, the ones that stabilize jump gates, they do that all the time, going from system to system. So it just went out here to the gas giant at Champala C1 and just stabilized the jump point. So now we can cross this entire gap in an instant through the Lagrange points. So this is basically part of the inner solar system now, or the inner Champala system right now. Anyways, so going back to Bornide. Champala A1 is not really an option, but now I realize that there's possibilities in the Ucoin system. So let me take a look at that real quick, because I'll still keep terraforming Elrude, but this means we might shift our focus here instead. Now we set our colony down here just because it was a terrestrial planet with an ice sheet and it would be easy to terraform. But let's find the Bornide. It's going to be on one of these planets here. Here, this is it. Five Moon 3. So I definitely want to start... Oh, and it's even got ice in the crust, which is great news for terraforming. A little cold, but not outrageously so. Can definitely be terraformed. And I think there's even another planet here that has more. So this is a great planet already. Let me see where the other one is. Oh, this one. This one might be even better, although getting a hydrosphere here is going to take a lot of work. I think what we're going to do is we are going to send all my next terraformers to the Yukon system. This just seems like a lot of fun, a lot of planets here to shape. But most importantly, we have a lot of boronite, which is, I like the idea of terraforming a system that's going to give us more boronite, that's going to allow us to build more terraformers. There's kind of like a positive reinforcement going on there. All right, I've gone on for long enough. It's been a long episode. We talked a lot about ground combat and also about expansion and terraforming. So that'll be it for now. I hope, next episode we should have our ground army loaded up into our transports. We should have those transports built. And we're going to attempt live on camera the invasion of the alien planet. And I expect, well, I'm hopeful, but I expect failure. We'll see. See you guys then. Take care.